say that Councilmember Kathleen Daly is actually attending online as she has COVID, which is an allowable exception under the revised Brown Act. So she'll be a full participant in the call, despite the fact that she's not in the room tonight. Do the roll call, please.
Commencing roll call now. Vice Chair Blair Whitney.
Here.
Councilmember Juan Carlos Prado.
Here.
Councilmember Everardo Rodriguez. Councilmember Niket Searcy. Councilmember Kathleen Daly. And Councilmember George Salmon.
Here.
And Chair Brooks Esther.
Here.
Thank you.
Agenda item 2, public comment. Anyone may speak up to 2 minutes on any topic not on the agenda. If you're in the room, please fill out a speaker slip. Online participants may use the raised hand feature in Zoom. Please note the council may not discuss or take action on items not on the agenda. I believe we have public comment tonight.
It is now time for general public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, please bring a speaker slip up to the clerk during this time. For those of you joining this meeting online, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom. Does anyone have a public comment at any topic on this agenda? We do have a few speaker slips submitted. When I call your name, you may come up to the podium. You will have 2 minutes to speak. I'd like to call Matthew Fox up for public comment, followed by Juan De Leon.
Just wanted to formally introduce myself. My name is Matthew Fox. I'm a captain here at the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. The former bureau chief of headquarters was Mark Myers, and he's since graduated, if you will, up to beautiful city of San Carlos. So I'll be taking over North Fair Oaks, and I appreciate folks for inviting me to the North Fair Oaks council here tonight. And if you have any questions, I'm looking forward to the relationship, but I'll be your point of contact. So I just wanted to introduce myself to everybody. And again, I appreciate the time.
Welcome. Appreciate you coming out tonight, Matthew.
Next, I'd next like to call Juan De Leon for public comment.
Hi, Council. My name is Juan De Leon. I've been a member of the North Fair Oaks community for almost 20 years. And I'm really excited to see all the changes that have been happening. And I just wanted to thank the council for all the work that they've been doing in the Sheriff's Department. It looks like we're making progress, but there's a lot of stuff to do. So I'm just checking back in to come in person to the council. I just want to say that when you look at the videos, you can barely hear people talking. It's very, very hard. That's just my comment. Even sitting there, I can barely hear you talking. So thanks for feedback there. I have 2 items I just wanted to ask about. As part of the construction work, I wasn't sure, I couldn't find information if at some point the PG&E poles are going to be underground, and is that part of this phase of the construction? That's my first question. And then the second question is, for a living, I'm a commercial real estate agent, and we've been doing a lot of work in this community. A lot of questions I get from the local landlords is, what is the policy and rules regarding street vendors? So there's a lot of landlords that want to place street vendors on their property to earn extra income because the situation has been really hard. And it's not really clear to me if that's legal or not legal. I see street vendors on the street and taco trucks. I don't know if those are allowed or not. So I wanted to see if at some point I could get information about who can give me clarity on that, who I can talk to. So before we do anything with any street vendors, we know we're doing it correctly. And that's it. So thank you very much for it. Appreciate it.
I can't answer your first question with regard to the power poles. They will be the very last thing to come down when the project is absolutely, finally, completely done. Middle of next year, perhaps end of next year. So that is absolutely the last thing that happens on this for a variety of reasons.
Can I ask you a follow-up?
Sure.
So when they change the power poles, they have to reconnect the power to every building underground. Is that part of the cost of the project, or do the landlords have to
Oh, that's part of the cost of the
I'm
project.
pretty sure it's part of the cost because at one of the buildings on Middlefield, PG&E had already started installing power distribution on the side of the building. So, yeah, without notifying, they just went and did it, so.
Thank you. For brief comment on street vendors?
I would suggest that building and planning is probably the right group. The county building and planning is the right group to reach out to confirm what the regulations are around that. I don't have them off the top of my head.
They're easy to find on the county website. Street vendors have to be licensed. I do know that, even if whether they're on public property or private property. So the planning and building will be able to help you on that. Any online public comment?
Kathleen does have her hand raised at the moment.
Okay, we'll take her during report outs and things like that. We're looking for input from members of the public right now.
Last call for public comments. No, back to you, Chair Phillips.
Okay, do we have Erica on the line for agenda item 3?
I believe she is not online at the moment. I am messaging her on Teams to see if she can log on. I sent her the Zoom link as well. I'm gonna check in with the other person from public.
I move that we move up item 4 and take care of reports.
That is what I was going to suggest. We can get a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll modify the agenda to do report outs. County Executive, Adam, why don't you go ahead?
I don't have anything in particular to report on today, so very short.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Whitney.
I've been doing the CERT training through Menlo Park Fire, and it's actually pretty fun. They got a facility in East Palo Alto because they're like a multi-city district. Redwood City also does the CERT training. I think they're doing like Red Morton or somewhere. If you're vaguely interested, it's kind of fun and you're equipped to help your neighbors in stuff like an earthquake or a flood. And also that Citizenship Academy with the counties rolling around again. I can't recommend that more highly. It's like 12 or 15 weeks where you, every Wednesday night or whatever it is, you meet and check out a different county branch, like the health department. They have, we toured the new Maple Street Jail. We went up to Edgewood Park and talked to the park department. And gives you a glimpse of all the depth of county government. That's it for my report out.
That's great. I'd like to chat with you more about that.
Councilmember Prado.
Yeah, a couple of things. First, I was here this week on Tuesday, actually in this room, when we had the county do a community outreach for Measure K funds. So that was really great. I was very pleased with the turnout. The groups were really large, and I was great to see the community participation and the engagement there. And I think it's a great first start, and I look forward to future meetings. As there's, about $40 million there in Measure K for the community. So it's tremendous opportunity for North Fair Oaks to, do further development for the benefit of the community. Also, just as an announcement, in North Fair Oaks, September 23rd, there is going to be a gathering, and I'm sure other members will speak of this at the park there, the park there on Fair Oaks Avenue. So I just wanted to throw that out there as an announcement for North Fair Oaks residents. That's all from my part.
Okay. Kat is not here. Councilmember Daly, Kathleen, do you have a report out tonight? Hopefully we can hear her.
Hi, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, Kathleen, cool.
Hi, hi, everyone. Just going back to the commercial real estate gentleman, Juan de Leon, something that could be kind of cool that we could look at going forward once Middlefield Road is done would possibly, with street vendors, do some sort of a farmer's market. A lot of communities do a farmer's market once or twice a week, and that could be a cool way to include some of our street vendors in the process of, you know, making more money and things like that. That was it. Thank you for attending the Measure K thing on Tuesday night. Unfortunately, I couldn't get there, but that was a really cool thing. And there was one other thing, but I can't remember, so I'll thank you.
Hope you're feeling better, Kathleen. Councilmember Saman, George.
Nothing on my end.
Okay, what do I have that hasn't already been covered? Oh, I went to the neighborhood response team meeting this week. We talked a little bit about parking, the striping that's gone on the side streets. We've set up, the county has set up 1 hour parking limits. They've been implemented on the side streets between Fourth and Pacific. I guess there's room for 3 or 4 cars on each one of those streets. Captain's been enforcing those 1 hour limitations, I believe. And apparently, at least according to Emma, the streets have opened up a little bit as a result of that. Middlefield Road construction, 2 of the 4 northbound phases are open. You've probably seen a lot of the fencing has come down. We just have phase 5 and phase 8 to go, both of which are supposed to be done by the end of September. The word that we got this week was, I guess, AT&T has been doing some work that was unanticipated in phase 5. Office of Community Affairs reported that over 80 grants have been issued of the $1 million the Board of Supervisors allocated to the businesses along North Fair Oaks. They're going to be granted to business in 2 phases. So there'll be a $5,000 grant and then a subsequent $5,000 grant. We've already got 80 of the, I guess it would be 100 businesses eligible have applied. Juan Carlos mentioned the listening session. Yeah, the program that Blair was referring to, and I've been to as well, is the Civics 101 Academy. You can go out to the county website if you're interested in registration information for that. But it's a really excellent program that gives you a great overview of all of the county offices. And we still do have vacancies on the council. We have 2 open positions for regular members and 2 student positions. The applications can be found at www.smcgov.org/BNC, which is short for boards and commissions. The only other thing on the Civics 101 Academy, I believe registration closes on the 27th. So anybody listening that's interested in doing that needs to get out and apply right away. That is my report out. And we could go back to agenda item 3. Are we ready to go on that?
I believe Erica Adams is actually in our audience at the moment.
Okay, terrific. Agenda item number 3 is a recommendation for 3203 through 3205 Middlefield Road for an off-street parking exception to allow a tandem guest parking space and waive a requirement for 1 uncovered parking space for the commercial uses in association with a remodel and an addition to an existing mixed-use structure. That presentation is going to be given by Erica Adams at Planning and Building. Erica.
Hello, my name is Erica Adams. I'm planner with the Planning and Building Department. And I'm here presenting a off-street parking exception for 3203 Middlefield. 3203 and 3205 Middlefield.
One moment, Erica. I'm trying to pull up the file, but it's not showing up.
Right, okay, I sent another one, but I think we'll be fine. It's a pretty simple application.
Okay.
So the application, there's an existing mixed-use commercial development and it suffered fire damage. And originally it had 2 commercial units and 1 residential unit. And what they would like to do is to remodel major modification to the facility. And they intend to reduce the square footage for the commercial space, put in 2 covered parking spaces and have 2 units. So it would, the final project would be 2 commercial areas and 2 residential. So this is where the site is located. Next slide.
Sorry. One moment, please.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
one more back. I just had a picture of the street frontage. I know, I'm sorry about that. Right there, okay. The street frontage there, that's the front of the building existing. And then the next slide would be the proposed elevation of what they are proposing to make the off-street parking exception finding. There are two requirements, two findings that need to be made. You can go next slide. The first one, that the establishment, maintenance and or conducting of the off-street parking facilities as proposed are as nearly in compliance with the requirements set forth in section 6119 of the zoning regulations as reasonably possible. And the second is that the establishment, maintenance and or conducting of the use will not, under the circumstances of a particular case, be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to property or improvements in said neighborhood. So this is the proposed front elevation. And I don't know if you can move to the side to see the back.
Sorry, it's.
That's okay. I'm sorry that this didn't, we had an office picnic and I didn't get a chance to get back to this.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's not.
Will it help if I have it on my?
Yeah, it's,
Okay,
sorry.
and then can you move to the right? Just slide over.
It wouldn't let me.
Take it off of presentation. I think that's probably part of the problem.
Okay.
There you go.
Perfect.
So that's the front and the other was the back with the two covered parking spaces. The project does comply with the NMU zoning. Go next slide. It does comply with the NMU zoning that's detailed in the report that was provided. Next slide. And this is the parking information. So what's required on the site? It would be one covered parking space for each dwelling unit and 0.25 parking spaces for, as a guest parking space for dwelling units. So that's 0.5, rounding up, they need one. And then for each 1,000 square feet total, they need one parking space for the commercial. So they're able to provide on site the residential parking, the two covered spaces and the guest parking space, but they're not able in that small back area behind the building, able with a turn radius to get any additional parking back there. Next slide. So here they're showing, you know, they had to do a parking turn radius analysis. You can see where they'll be pulling into the two covered parking spaces, and then the one guest parking space is tandem, and that is also part of the parking exception to allow them to be able to park behind the garage and not free and clear as required by the zoning regulations. Next slide. So these are just the floor plans of what's existing. Next slide, please. This is what's proposed. So they're, like I said, they're cutting into on the first floor, bringing the commercials, reducing the commercial space, putting in the parking on the first floor, and then creating two separate units above. Next slide, please. It's just the elevations for what the structure will look like. Next slide, please. And basically, that's it, except for staff was looking at the parking exception, and for the first finding that the establishment is as nearly in conformance as possible. Currently, they would be able to park two uncovered parking cars in the rear lot. I think it says 3, but I noticed that they're only saying with the turn, they can only do 2. So all of the, even though they're adding a unit, all of the residential parking is able to be provided on the site. And in this one location, there's PCS at the corner and a restaurant. There is a lot that, not that this use is going to use that, but there is some off-street parking nearby. And then there's also off-street parking right in front of the building. So county staff made the recommendation that the one commercial space could be accommodated by the available street parking. And that also leads into that the maintenance would not be detrimental to the public welfare. That the absence of one parking space where there is street parking immediately adjacent to the property is not detrimental to the neighborhood. I did receive one letter in support of the application, and the project architect is here. If you have any questions, I can take questions, or if you need to hear from them. But yes,
Do you know what type of commercial establishment will be there?
I do not. It's not required to identify that. Perhaps the architect knows, but he might not.
Okay. Does the county support this from the planning?
The county is supporting the off-street parking exception. That's the only part of the application that's really under review. The zoning itself allows mixed use
Right.
development to occur without a use permit. So it's just by right. And that's why we aren't really involved in what type of use, other than they've identified commercial, because if they were to say like a restaurant,
Yeah.
there's different parking requirements, but they've indicated commercial.
Are there other questions from council members? Carlos.
Yeah, through the chair. I saw in the blueprints that there was some drawings that mentioned bedroom. So is there gonna be living, or is this completely retail downstairs and upstairs?
No, retail is on the first floor, and there are two bedrooms, two dwelling units on the top floor.
On the top floor, so
Yeah.
it will be living space, it will not be
Right,
retail.
right, that's, yeah.
Okay, and my other question is, as far as the exception that they're looking for the uncovered parking space, is that for both addresses, for both units at 32,003 and 3205, or is that just one of them?
Well, right now, they had two addresses assigned to the building. I'm sure that once they get, well, I'm not sure, but they will have a different address configuration once the new configuration is worked out, because they would have 4 units, so they would have to have either, A and B or something. So something is gonna happen. But the address is 303 to 305 because there are 2 store frontages there. So it's the same, it's the same building. It just happens to have 2 street numbers.
I understand, but I guess my clarification, or my question for clarification is, they're only seeking one uncovered parking space.
Right, it's per square footage per parcel, not necessarily per use.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Blair, you had a question?
In the plan for North Fair Oaks, we're trying to get density and go higher, so it's a 1-story thing right now, and it's gonna be 1.5, 2 stories.
No, it's currently 2 stories. It remains 2 stories.
Okay. I wish it was 3 or 4, but it's private property, and they're doing what they can with what they have, and it's a small parcel squeezed in there behind the phone store, so they're doing, I think, reasonably well. And there's other central business districts where they kind of pool parking at lots nearby, rather than every single storefront on the main strip having to.
Well, the 2 adjacent businesses have done that, and they have a lot. I'm not saying, or, I mean, they don't have any permission to use that lot, but there is shared parking off-street parking in the immediate vicinity, plus the street parking in the immediate vicinity. And that's how we got to be able to support the off-street parking.
And a county lot up the block.
It's like 3 blocks away,
That's good
so,
exercise.
yeah, it is. I mean, that's what my supervisor said. I think 3 blocks in San Francisco, sure, 3 blocks in North Fair Oaks, I don't know.
It's flat.
I know it's flat.
Other questions from council members?
Just to follow up on the parking, there is a parking lot there, but you're telling me that's private, that's for the businesses that
The
are
adjacent
adjacent?
one is for private lot. Yeah.
I see, okay, it is parking, but it's for that business.
It's for, the PCS.
Yes.
And the restaurant.
Got it,
And apparently I've heard that overflows. So,
yeah, I'm sure it does.
yes.
Thank
You
you.
mentioned the architect is here. I'd like to ask a question.
Okay.
about What's gonna,
Oh.
You can unmute.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm sorry, you guys froze there for a second.
We can't, Kathleen.
Okay, there we go. Thank you for the presentation. I know that corner. I think we all know that corner really well. It's a busy corner, Middlefield and Fifth. I know we don't get to decide or we don't get to vote or anything on what that commercial space might be, but we all need to recognize that that is a very busy corner, a lot going on. But those buildings definitely need to be replaced. I'm not 100% sure. I've walked by there a couple of different times. I just want to make sure there's no one living there. And if there is someone living there, are we doing anything to help them find a new place to live? Because we will be developing and displacing if there is anyone living there. And I think also it's going to be important to minimize the construction as much as possible, because we go back to that being one of the very busiest corners in North Fair Oaks. But I do support the project, but I just think that knowing what the commercial space might be, I think just is something that we as council members should just be aware of, even though I know we understand that we don't have the ability to say anything about it, but I think it's important. Thank you.
An auto show.
Well, I'll just throw in that I don't know where the developer, the owner is as far as the process, but I would think that knowing who's going to be there depends on who applies to be there. And they might, if we're so far out that they might not have that information. I mean, the size of the facility itself is somewhat limiting. And, but I'll let and I believe that there was a fire and there now, but I'll let the architect, anything else for me?
I'm still confused about
Okay,
about the parking. So there's 2 covered parking spaces, one each for each residential
unit,
unit. There's a tandem parking space behind one of the units. I presume that's for the guest.
which is meeting the 0.25. There's a requirement for a residential unit that you have 1 covered parking space and 0.25 guest space. So you have the 2, and so the tandem is meeting the guest parking for the residential,
For the residents. So, and then the exception is they're providing no
for the commercial.
on-site parking for the
Commercial.
commercial. And how many spots would be required for the
1.
commercial? That would be 1, and there's no way.
There-
I go back to that one diagram you had.
With the turn radius, there's no way to get any more parking back there.
Okay,
You would render the other part.
the entrance would be blocked or something
Yeah,
like that.
because it's,
No way.
there's gonna be a wall on the back end, so
Okay.
you don't have much. It's basically an alley, so you need the point turn to be able to back out.
Okay, and there's no way we could there's no way we could change what's being built there to allow a wider turning radius and an on-site parking spot, customers only. I'm just loath to take away any off-street parking. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I'm sorry, so what did you want to do in the public right away, do something?
No, if you could put the map back
you
up,
go
kind of
back?
the aerial view, maybe I'm just talking about something.
Yeah, I think what you're describing is really, if you just, maybe you can go to the first slide and then it's like the second one.
It's in a restaurant and a beauty salon.
Yeah.
Right here.
That's what- So there, you can see how narrow it is, and then,
The drawing of the proposed.
yeah, and then go to the,
Can I point to this for a second?
yeah, sure.
Good evening. I'm Mike Castrop. I'm the architect.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
And I'm also a resident here in Redwood City. I live about 2 blocks from here. The access to this is off of Fifth Avenue through this little alley to get into this area. We've taken the building and we've shortened it quite a bit in order to get enough space for 2 garages and 1 additional space. This use has never really had
enough parking for commercial. It's been here since the twenties, I think. So it's not we're not asking something new here.
Okay. Could we see the aerial of the proposed?
I think he wants the floor plan,
The
the site plan, yeah. The one that has the turning radius. One more, I think one right there.
You're doing great, Jennifer. Okay, I see. I was some way there.
Yeah, I
There
think
would
what
be
you
some way we
see
could put
is
one
the
at the
other
very back.
building is showing, and so
Yeah.
it's not, but that's not part of the project. It's really just that little narrow on the other side.
Yeah,
It's not a wide
there's,
alley.
Yeah.
there's no room back there.
One of these
Okay,
monster pickups wouldn't even. fit in
We
there.
tried.
yeah. No, I'll keep asking the questions on that, but thank you very much for that.
Okay. No one else?
Are there any other questions from
Yes.
council?
Do you know what's gonna be there? What type of,
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we have no idea at this time. In the past, at one point, there was a beauty salon that was in there, but that doesn't seem to be appropriate use for the space any longer. The spaces are much smaller. There'd be gonna be boutique shops as far as we know.
now my thought was, if we knew what it was, we knew what the density would be and how many parking spots would be required, and we'd be taking them away from
Yeah,
the.
there's no, it depends what the market is out there.
That's true. Okay, thank you.
I'll just add that most things fall under commercial, so it's not gonna change the parking. I
That's-
mean, the only thing that would was a restaurant. You could-
Yeah, I was just thinking of density.
It won't be a restaurant. That's a high.
Oh.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from council members? Are you good, Kathleen? Just want to make sure. I don't see her hand up, but I just wanted to be sure she's okay.
I'm comfortable making the motion to support the off-street exemption.
Let's call for public comment. first.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go from there.
That's an important part of the process.
Okay, do we have any public comment on this agenda item?
During this time, members of the public, if you wish to comment on agenda item number 3, recommendation for an off-street parking exception, please use raise hand feature on Zoom or bring a speaker slip up to the clerk during this time. We do have a speaker slip. When I call your name, you may come up to the podium. You have 2 minutes to speak. I'd like to call P. Durham to the podium, please.
Not making a speech. I'm only asking questions. I feel as I should be around there. So question for the architect. So you say you shortened the building quite a bit, but
Yes.
the whole building or just the street level?
The back end of the building, we pull it away from the back property.
And then the street, then the upstairs will be over the parking, the covered parking space.
It'll be
There will
above
be-
the curb, yes, above the
Yeah.
parking and moved it back away from the street.
And do you know how, well, of course you know, how many bedrooms are in each?
But there are 2 bedrooms in each unit. So there are 2.
So there's one parking space for 2 bedrooms. I thought it had to be one
This-
parking space for each bedroom.
It's basically a 1.5, but yes, it is, it's based on the county requirements for parking.
It's based on the zoning. The zoning requires 1 per unit, not per bedroom in this district.
Okay. Right next door in the residential, it's 1 per bedroom. I have one slight concern, notice that parking lot next to it is, this isn't really going to be a planning issue, it's more going to be after it's in use, but that's a private parking lot, and I know already that the restaurant who pays rents it, gets all kinds of people using it, and I don't know what can be done about that, but I do, they're really important. They provide a really important service in the area, so that is the existing problem. So the businesses that were there before, one was immediately before, I'm not talking ancient history, before the fire, there was a religious bookstore, and they have very really low traffic and a lot of foot traffic. So you can't judge anything from that. And then there was a shoemaker next to that. And there again, you know, people aren't doing a lot of shopping, they're just gonna trot in and out with things, so. It's gonna have to be stuff like that. So I don't really have any objections. I am like the gentleman here, I'm glad that it's only 2 stories because there's absolutely no way to provide parking for 3 and 4. Plus, San Mateo County's made a great big deal about how they love North Fair Oaks and it has this wonderful quality and they want to protect it, the rest of it. And the only way you're going to do that is to protect the scale of the place, which this does. I'm not saying it's a you know, building like the sort of deco one that's there, but at least the scale is right. So
Well, thank you very much for your comments. this
you're
evening.
welcome. Thank you for answering my questions.
Um,
Like
and-
me to sing or anything.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment?
Last call for public comments. We're good on Zoom too.
Okay, thanks. Then Blair, you were gonna make a
I make the
motion.
motion to support the parking exemption.
Do we have a second?
Second here.
George, second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion passes. Okay, thank you all very much. That is our agenda this evening. We had a short meeting tonight, everyone, summertime. Thanks to our presenters, members of the public who attended and participated this evening. As always, thanks to county staff, Kenny, Josh, Ruby, Jennifer, Adam, Bo, coming out tonight. Our next council meeting is a study session on September 21st from 7 to 9. County Health is going to be providing updates both on the opioid crisis as well as COVID in San Mateo County. And I guess the importance of COVID has been pressed on to me particularly recently since, as a matter of fact, 29% of the members of this council have contracted COVID within the last couple of months. So it's still out there. It's still hitting people, and this session will provide insight into the continuing efforts to mitigate both COVID and opioids in San Mateo County. So looking forward to that.
Just to confirm, it'll be 7 to 9 or 6:30? So 8:30,
7 to 9.
7 to regular time.
We've moved all of them to 7 to 9.
Yeah,
So,
okay, just want to confirm.
okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
We have a second.
Second.
Second, George, all in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
George, here's the page for the.
I found it.
Oh, you